Kaixo, arratsaldeon, hasi egingo dugu All Dirt Road's Taste of Salt filmaren prentsaurreko hau. Hola, buenas tardes. Vamos a dar comienzo a la rueda de prensa de la película All Dirt Road Taste of Salt, que como sabéis es una película estadounidense que tiene su estreno internacional en la sección oficial del Festival de San Sebastián tras haberse estrenado en Sundance. Además de competir por la Concha de Oro, la película opta también por el premio RTV Otra Mirada y el premio Agenda 2030 Euskadi Basque Country. Se trata de la ópera prima de Raven Jackson, a la que conocemos bien en el Festival de San Sebastián porque en el 2018 participó en Nest, en el Encuentro Internacional de Estudiantes de Cine, con su cortometraje Nettles, y el año siguiente, en el 2019, fue residente con el proyecto de la película que presenta hoy en el programa de residencia Ikusmira Berriak, que, como ya sabréis, es un programa coorganizado entre el Festival de San Sebastián, Tabakalera, Centro Internacional de Cultura Contemporánea, y Elías Querejeta Cineskola. Por todo ello, estamos muy contentas de tener hoy al equipo de la película y tenemos acompañando en esta rueda de prensa, voy a ir en orden, a Raven Jackson, directora, MARÍA ALTAMIRANO, productora, y ADELE ROMANSKI, productora. Voy a hacer una primera pregunta y os voy a pedir después que vayáis levantando la mano para que os pueda ir dando turno en orden. La primera pregunta que quería hacer es en realidad para todas ellas, para Raven, ADELE y MARÍA. Para Raven concretamente sabemos que llevas trabajando en este proyecto desde el 2019 como mínimo y quería saber cómo fue el poder levantar esta película, convertir esta idea en una ópera prima, y también quería preguntar a ADELE y MARÍA cómo conocisteis a Raven y empezasteis a trabajar juntas en este proyecto.
Thank you, Mayellen, for that intro. I started working on this film in 2018, and it didn't start on the page. It started with me taking photographs, looking through some photo albums, being in the South. Like, it was really, there were a lot of seeds planted to get to this film, and so it's been a beautiful organic process over the course of the years it's taken for it to arrive at the festival. At this date, of course, Ikusmira Berriak being a part of that journey. But it really did start in large part with writing certain scenes, certain moments, and not necessarily knowing at that point how it would connect, but knowing that it would. And I wrote more than ultimately in the script, but I needed to write what I wrote to land on the film.
So Raven and I met in film school, actually. We were classmates in the MFA program at New York University's film department. And during that time, we became friends, but also started working together. And I produced her short film, Nettles, which played the festival in 2018. And that kind of really set the foundation for our collaboration. And from then, when she was ready to start the process of making her debut feature, I immediately jumped on because we could, sense that we wanted to work together. So this was soon after being here, actually, with Nettles is when that process started in 2018. So that's how we first met, and ever since then, we started developing the project and then expanded the team to include our wonderful partners at Pastel, which I'll let ADELE speak to that.
I had the pleasure of meeting Raven through reading the script for the first time, which was a very beautiful way to be introduced to the world and to these two incredible collaborators. But one of the other producers, Barry Jenkins, had actually known Raven and supported her through a fellowship. Remind me, was it Memphis?
Indie Memphis.
Yeah. So it feels very organic the way the project came back around to us in script form, but Barry and Raven have a relationship that predates my reading of the script.
Cuando tengáis una pregunta, por favor, levantad la mano y así. Sí, aquí en la primera fila, por favor.
Hola, muchas gracias por venir. Me gustaría mucho que comentaras cuál es tu idea del montaje, por qué ese desorden A mí me ha resultado muy orgánica la película, o sea, me ha parecido que entendía perfectamente qué estaba pasando en cada momento, pero sí que es cierto que tiene un pozo íntimo, emotivo, que se ve que llega mucho más dentro de ti y que tiene otra justificación ese montaje, además. Esas manos, esos abrazos, ese tiempo que le das a cada cosa. Querría que me explicaras dónde lo tienes, de dónde te nace.
Yes, I always knew this would, thank you for that question, first off. And I always knew this would be a film that sat inside of moments. I am interested in regards to the edit and the way, and in the heart of the film, the way things change form, how that's mirrored in nature, how that's mirrored in our lives, our relationships. And the hands for me rhyme with that. The order, the scenes, how for me it's not all of it. I knew I wanted it to be a very fluid film. All of these scenes for me are happening now. I wasn't interested in shooting something to look like it looks in the past or something in the future. It's all present. And so for me, the edit needed to have a fluid quality that mirrored water, and how the edit changes form mirrors, again, the water cycle, the seasons, nature, us as people. And also sitting inside the moments, even I knew that it would do that, the film would do that, but there are scenes like the grocery store scene, the hug scene with the hug, that's being present on set. You know what I mean? You can't script how long it's going to be. You just have to listen to what it's asking for, both on set and in the edit. And that was, for me, those characters don't see each other after a good amount of time and only hug for 15 seconds,
Raven, es una película muy sensorial al que desde mi punto de vista contribuyen mucho un trabajo excelente de la banda de sonido que también refleja el mundo natural y el mundo animal que rodean a Mac y a los demás personajes, y también una fotografía que recoge de una manera muy viva, con unos colores muy saturados, es muy espectacular. Quería saber un poco cómo trabajas esos elementos del sonido y la fotografía un poco desde el punto de vista de la puesta en escena.
Yeah, again, it was a very, with Jomo Frey, who's an amazing cinematographer on the film, and who shot Nettles, which was a short film Maria, Jomo, and I did together before this feature. It was, we would shot list, but when we were on set, it was always, again, being present to, is this emotionally getting at? Like knowing, I know what I'm looking for, but I'm open to the ways we get there. If I see something, like I love a pivot if needed. And so it was, like for instance, in the dance scene, it was at some moments telling Jomo, I want you to follow what inspires you, and I'll tell you if I want you to move somewhere else. It was being open to the flow of things too, and allowing it to be a little more loose rather than being rigid, And sometimes it was starting rigid and then opening up. But it was always knowing what I'm looking for, but first and foremost being present. And I think with Jomo and I, it's within that collaboration, we're really good at being present and being loose. And with the sound design, Miguel Calvo is the sound designer. And I knew this was gonna be a quiet film as far as this doesn't have a lot of dialogue. For me, the sound design is the score in a lot of ways. It only has, a few moments where there's a soundtrack in the film, and so being very intentional with, when there's a loud moment, like a loud hit of thunder, or the rain, like what is the sound of the rain, like really being intentional with the sounds we hear. because not only just to really have that sensorial evocative quality, but also to hopefully create a sense of interiority for the characters.
Hola, es una pregunta para la directora. Bueno, tengo un poco la sensación de que en los últimos años como que hay una generación de cineastas, más o menos de tu generación, mujeres, que están reivindicando mucho volver a poner el cuerpo humano, o sea, el físico en primer plano. Y en tu película es muy llamativo porque eso está, ¿no? El cuerpo es importante, te detienes mucho en él, no solo en los rostros, en las manos, como apuntaba mi compañera. Y es algo a lo que se le da mucho peso, tanto como al contacto físico, ¿no? El que los personajes se toquen todo el tiempo, que un poco esta historia a lo largo de los años se cuente a través de ese contacto. Es algo que siento que años atrás se echaba mucho de menos en el cine, ¿no? Esta presencia del cuerpo y del contacto físico, ¿no? Que salvo directores como Terrence Malick, por ejemplo, que siempre han apostado por eso, no era lo más común, ¿no? Entonces quería preguntarte si un poco compartes esta idea o no, y si esto era algo que para ti era esencial ya desde el proceso de escritura de tu película. Muchas gracias.
Yes, for me, this film in a lot of ways is about connection, you know, and so to get at that, the contact, the hugs, the hands, gets at that, and also generations, you know, if you see the young Mac's hands with her grandmother's hands and her sister's hands, like the different generations, the family, community, like in the scene where they're washing the baby, you know, for me, I love details. I love saying things without saying things explicitly. And so a lot of the moments you speak of for me speak to the connection that I'm looking for. And also I have, just in a broader sense, I have a deep interest in the body. I keep returning to it. I did a short, Nettles explores stinging moments in the lives of different girls and women, and it's chaptered with different body parts. And so I just, as a person, as a filmmaker, am interested in that, and that was carried on into my work in this film.
Sí.
Bueno, primero, gracias por la película. Y tenía dos dudas que me recorrían un poco la mente, que en una parte quería saber qué ha sido lo más difícil de hacer la producción, que es un poco una pregunta más general porque ha tardado casi 5 años en ver la luz. Y por otra parte también para la directora quería saber qué si hay algo de ti dentro de toda esa historia de momentos de recuerdo, porque me da la sensación de que podía ser un poco introspectivo. Gracias.
Do you want to take the first one?
Yes. So in terms of the production, or I guess the process in getting the movie made, one of the challenges, but something we embraced quite a bit, was that we knew we were doing something non-traditional in many ways. You know, the storytelling structure, we wanted to shoot on 35mm film. We had a lot of creative, part of the creative vision was very distinct. And so with that comes time to find the right partnerships, but staying committed to that. So for both of us, it was very important as we expanded the team, as we found financiers, to make sure that we were protecting the integrity of you know, something that was different and bold that sometimes scares some people away. So we were lucky to do that. And then the actual physical production, we shot entirely on location in the American South, deep in Mississippi. And we were so fortunate that people opened up their homes, they welcomed us, because that helped us find all the little pieces that we wanted, the details that mattered to us about the sense of place, the community. But it's simply challenging to shoot there in the middle of the summer. It was peak COVID for the American South as well. So I think, you know, the way that we built the team, all of us together, was in making sure that, you know, we created a bit of a family that could go through some of those tough environments together. And so much of that, you can feel it in the film, you know, kind of that love that came from setting our roots there in Mississippi. Any other challenges?
I mean, no, perfectly stated.
And yes, I would say I live in, the film is fiction, but there are details where I or someone I love is in the detail. For instance, the title of the film comes from a conversation I had with my grandmother around the practice of eating clay dirt. I wrote a poem that has nothing to do with the film, but I wrote a poem with that title. There are in certain scenes, there are photographs of members of my family from like family photo albums on the walls. Like one of the characters is named after one of my grandmothers who's passed. So it's certain details that I knew I wanted to feel very close to this film. I mean, I'm making it, so I'm going to feel close to it anyway, but on a deeper level. And so there are certain details that would naturally be in it anyway, but like naming a character, the name of one of my grandmothers, it was very intentional to like always feel very close to it. You know what I mean? Even though it's a fiction film, there's, details that I hold very close.
Sobre esto también quería preguntarte si tienes hermanas, porque para mí esta película, al margen de ese recorrido generacional, creo que es una historia de amor entre hermanas precioso.
Yes. I certainly pulled from my familiar relationships, my relationship with my sister Shaquita, and it's a bond that I hold dear and that I see mirrored in a lot of ways, and that closeness with the characters in the film and how they hold each other, how they're there for each other, and they have each other's backs, and so, yes.
La película recoge episodios de la vida de Mac, que es una mujer afroamericana que nace en los 60 en las orillas del río Mississippi, y te quería preguntar por el género y también por la etnia, porque son importantes en esta historia que cuenta Raven, y también quería preguntar a las productoras sobre la importancia de apoyar historias y películas que tengan como protagonistas a mujeres afroamericanas.
Yes, I was really interested in creating a story that honored, people who I know and love, and was about life, but was very specific and was very intentionally specific, and it was important for me too to. I was very interested in doing a film with Black women characters where it was so quiet, you know what I mean, and where it was so, it did give room, hopefully, for, or invite people into the interiority of these characters, and so, it excited me to stay with these characters for the length of time that, in these moments that we do.
You want to go first?
Thank you for the question. I think Raven, wrote a story that was coming from such a genuine, deep place, and I think that comes first and foremost. And as producers, of course, I do value, and I'm attracted to work that puts people in the forefront who usually are underrepresented in general. But I think beyond that, as producers, our job is to just give Raven a space to tell the story the way she wanted to tell it, and as such, celebrate Black women in the process. And that was an important part, I think, just in general, as we, again, thought about our partnerships and how we would protect that creative vision. I think that's, that celebration is coming from such a deep, as Raven has shared, such a deep place that everything kind of just falls into place when you are doing it from a place of truth, which often is not given that space for Black women.
I'll just add to that, I think as a company, so Pastel, which is my company, we want to work with filmmakers on projects that move us deeply. And this is a project that moves us so incredibly deeply, both as a script and a finished work. And that's really at the forefront of all our decision making in terms of who we're collaborating with and what kind of films we're putting our energy towards as producers. My company is myself, a white woman, Barry Jenkins, a Black man, and our third partner, Mark Sariak, who's a white man. And I think maybe we are more often moved by stories that we find ourselves in. So I think the fact that we have diversity in our, the partners of our company does help in terms of the project selection, but we just have to be moved. That's really our guiding principle, I would say.
I actually wanted to know if you are able to say how this film is gonna transcend for you, because it's a film about different generations. So perhaps like in 10 years or when you are keep doing films, I hope, how do you think it's going to have that impact? How it's going to affect your career, perhaps?
I love that question. I think, I think this process was a gift, that just a different level of being a gift, like as the process continued. And I think this, so when thinking about how making this film will likely affect my future work, it makes me think of I've expanded the ceiling on what I feel is possible, to make, to find brilliant collaborators to be able to watch and be proud of it, you know what I mean? To just go through the hard days, the beautiful days, the growing pains, and to trust, you know what I mean? And and also trust your collaborators, trust yourself. And so I think, or I know, this process in this film it's opening doors for me because it's expanding what I feel is possible. I'm just really grateful.
Hola a todas. Felicidades por vuestra película. Quería una pregunta para Jackson, para Raven. En la película creo que algo central muy importante a lo que das, lo que también intuyo que también hila un poco la idea de montaje es este árbol genealógico, el paso entre generaciones y la herencia íntima, y sobre todo atado a la maternidad también. No sé si te sitúas en algún árbol genealógico a nivel cinematográfico de tu país o de otros. ¿De qué te sientes heredera cinematográficamente?
From a newbie standpoint, was that the... Yeah, that's a very interesting question. I think I inherit filmmakers who celebrate nature, who I think that comes up really big for me when sitting with your question, because and celebrate small moments too. And I feel like those filmmakers who do that gave me permission to explore that in my own work, you know, and to know that, I mean, again, this is a quiet film. I mean, there are big moments that happen for sure, but there are also very intimate, more subtle moments that happen, and to know that my interest in exploring that territory I can do that in a feature-length film, you know, I think, and so when thinking of your question, that's what comes to mind for me.
Tendríamos tiempo para una pregunta más, no sé si hay... Sí.
Sí, bueno, quería preguntar a Raven si cree que de alguna manera, bueno, y a las productoras también, esta película es posible también gracias un poco al momento actual en el que sí que es verdad que hay más voces de cineastas. Este año una mujer ganó la tercera Palma de Oro. Es un panorama totalmente distinto al que había hace unos años. Entonces, bueno, como este proyecto, digamos, experimental o más poético, más difícil, de forma comercial, quizás hace unos años no habría sido posible, no sé.
Do you want to answer first?
Yeah, I mean, I think I do agree. I think times are changing for the better. I think there's still quite a big gap to go, but it's hard to kind of pinpoint, you know, what exactly led to this film happening in this very moment, and you know, qualify it to one thing, or the fact that it is part of a moment. I think it's deeper than that. Personally, I think it's just, as Adela was saying earlier, it's a film that moved us, a script that moved us, and as you develop it, you just start finding those people that are emotionally connecting to it, and then that translates to an audience as well. But if anything, I'll just say I think we are, you know, proud to be put in a category where people are celebrating and realizing that women directors can take risks and be bold in their work, and that at least I am just excited about the possibility, as Raven was saying, of continuing to do that in our work. Yeah, I think that's where I would place it.
I would just add that I think if you give yourself over to the film and the experience of watching the film, it is, for me, an epic narrative experience as well.
Mm-hmm.
Para cerrar la rueda de prensa, quería preguntar a Raven, también a María, lo que supone un poco volver al Festival de San Sebastián, ahora ya compitiendo en la sección oficial con la ópera prima. Nosotras sentimos que sois un poco de casa y quería saber un poco vuestra experiencia volviendo a presentar la película ya una vez acabada a San Sebastián.
You know, it's so beautiful to be back with the feature, and when the film was ending or about to end, I really was very emotionally moved to be in Cursal. You know, when we had Ekoizlea, they give you great industry passes. And so I watched a lot of films, and I remember being in Cursal a few years back as a resident, you know, watching films, and to be now in the spotlight and to see my film on the screen with so many people, there are no words for how moving that is. And so it's been a really great experience to see how the film was able to come into bloom, you know, through the festival, through Ekoizlea, and I am so grateful for all the support that I received as a filmmaker, this film received, and it was a beautiful experience.
Yeah, and I'll just echo a lot of what Raven is saying, but it has been quite a beautiful week already, and you know, from doing Nest to then Ekoizlea to doing our pitch, I just have so many memories of being in this town and kind of dreaming big. So it's kind of quite beautiful to kind of be back and celebrate this moment. And also, I think, kind of going back to what we were saying earlier, the importance of support for bold voices and new voices, and getting to see that all the way through is a prime example of why those types of programs need to continue.
Right.
And we're so grateful for the festival welcoming us with such open arms.
Right, and I just want to echo that, again, the support for bold voices that you all champion, that MARÍA jumped on board for, that Pastel champions, that this film at every stage has received such vital support from people who are looking for bold voices, who are looking for folks who are, you know, trying to think outside of the box. And so I think when thinking of like having, you know, different voices rising to the surface, that support that is so key. So yes.
Pues muchas gracias. Voy a pedir un aplauso para el equipo de la película.